Hi, I'm Matt Thomas. I'm the executive pastor of worship arts here at Life Church International. And let me share a little bit about my story with you. So God created me to love music. Ever since I was a little kid, in fact, my earliest memory involves music. I was about 3 or 4 years old. I was at church with my family, and there was a musician there holding an acoustic guitar, and he let me sit on his lap and strum the guitar while he changed the chords, and it was pure magic to me. I mean, it stuck out in my head until this day, and I was 3 or 4 years old. It's what's made me tick ever since God made me. I've always enjoyed music, and the more I learn about it, the more that I grow as a human being. It's just who God has made me to be. But I didn't realize that all along. In fact, my whole story is one of God, even when I didn't know it, helping me develop in the purpose He created for me. So let me tell you a little bit about that. It all started when He gave me wonderful Christian parents who raised me to know what it means to serve God with your life and love Him. And they put me in piano lessons when I was 5 years old and gave me the discipline I didn't have in order to stick with that and to learn and start to develop and lay that musical foundation that I would need. Fast forward a few years, I changed schools, and there's no more piano lessons for me, but God put other things in my life to help me grow. And so He gives me an acoustic guitar up in our attic that I never even knew was there, and basically turned that on to me with a Eric Clapton Unplugged CD. If anybody loves Eric Clapton, it changed my world. I heard it and I was like, I have to be able to do this, you know? And so I went and grabbed that thing out of the attic, and I put new strings and started to learn and teach myself, and was only able to do that because He had given me piano lessons. Then a year later, everybody in my youth group at church wanted to play bass guitar because there was this amazing bass player there, and everybody, we were just in awe of him every day. And I went up to him and I was like, how do I learn how to play like you? And he said, well, do you have a bass? And I said, no, I don't have a bass. And he said, well, I think there's one in the back here. And so God provided a bass for me. And then he said, and I'll record everything that I do each week and give it to you. And then you can just learn what I play. And so God gave me what I needed, and He helped me to continue to grow. Well, a year later, I was 14-ish, and the bass player had to move. He had to leave the church, and because his job took him elsewhere. And then the senior pastor comes to me and says, Matt, you're the only other person in the church that plays bass. Can you play with everybody else on Sundays? And I'd only been playing a year at this point, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, and they're all adults, but you know what? Yes, I'll do it. And so I did. And boy, did I have to get better, faster. And God put that and used that in my life and gave me wonderful people alongside me that were way better than me, who were willing to pour into me and help me grow. And that's what He did, and He kept doing that in my life. Fast forward one more year, I was 15 years old, 10th grade, and sitting in Spanish class of all places, and God met me and called me into a life of service of music in His kingdom. It was such an amazing moment, and the presence of God was so strong that I said, something's different right now. I have got to get out a piece of paper and write this down. And so I did. And I wrote it down, and I still have it on my desk, in fact, because I knew God was calling me into music that day, and I didn't want to forget. But then I forgot. And I was only 15 after all. So I graduated high school a couple years later and did what a lot of people do. I go to college, and I'm lost, and I'm undecided in my major, and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm doing pre-med classes, but not enjoying it. And I'm like, God, what is going on? What am I supposed to do with my life? And then He reminded me, Matt, I called you 2 years ago to music. Don't you remember? And I said, oh yeah. So I auditioned for the music department and made it, and my world came alive. And I started to study what God had purposed for me, His whole purpose for my life. And I started to study it, and man, it came alive for me. I enjoyed it so much, learning about how it works and the history of it, and so many more details than I'd ever known before. And I grew as a musician and grew as a person. Then a couple of years later after that, I'm praying again, well, God, what do you want me to do with this knowledge now that I'm graduating college? And He said, well, I want you to go and teach others how to do it. And so He opened the door for me to come learn how to teach at Georgia State University, and brought me up to Atlanta, the big city of Atlanta, from me, little small town Georgia boy. But that wasn't all He had for me in Atlanta. That also brought me to Life Church International. It was 2003. I was still young in my own eyes. And I didn't know what God had for me here. But He met me here the first day I came. and he let me know that I was going to be here as long as he wanted me here, and he had a lot for me here. God has amazing stuff for you, and what I have learned is this: He has a purpose for you. He has a purpose for me. And even when I didn't know, and even when I didn't even care, He was still doing things, and He had His hand on my life in ways that I never would have seen coming. And He's been developing me and making me into the man that He has purposed for me to be. And I know He has a plan for you too. So just trust Him, and I know if you do, you're going to be as excited as I am to see what He has next, because I really do feel we're only at the beginning. So trust God, find His purpose for you, and let me know how it's going.